I want to have a chat to you, completely unscripted. Usually I do write a script if that wasn't apparent to you. You know, I script it, I edit the thing to buggery, and one major reason for that is because it keeps my waffling time down. You know, I can say the same thing in 3 times as long if I don't have a script keeping me down. And I like to be clear in what I'm saying anyway. But I just wanted to have a chat today. It's a chat about, I suppose, transitions and endings. You know, right now what I'm doing is I'm deleting all my old DMs from Twitter. Hoping that it hurries the fuck up and gets rid of them. Fucking thousands of messages. Cunts love a chat. Hurry up. Hoping it all happens before Twitter gets completely demolished and or exposed and or hacked. Hey? Anyway, that is a period of ending and transition, I suppose, for a lot of us who have come to rely on Twitter as being an absolute peak global hub for information on stuff as it happens. But I have this kind of thing in my head anyway. I've been thinking about endings and transitions, and not for the first time, related to, you know, I've been doing what I do for several years, and that is looking at and providing analysis on, and sometimes even organising in counter to different formations of scummy, pest, far right, whatever you want to call them, movements. And they've always been different ones over the course of the years. You know, it's a changing, fluid beast. Do commentary. Increasingly these days, yeah, I do my weekly videos, I do commentary. When you see these things change, when certain movements fall to bits, new ones rise up to take their place, when the scraps of the movements that you've been looking at in their heyday suddenly are not in their heyday anymore and they start fighting with each other. Similarly, you find that when you're in a temporary alliance of people who look at those movements, you can fall out with them as well. Now, this isn't the first time I've talked about some of these tensions between people who probably would have it that because we look at the same scumbags together for a little while, that they're on the same side as me. And it may be true temporarily that sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but in my experience, and remember, I'm a long hauler here. I don't just decide I was a cooker watcher the other fucking day or last year or whatever. I've been doing something or other about various different movements that I don't like for many years. And as such, I feel a little bit like a school teacher when I have these conversations about parts of the latest fad monitoring movement that I often quite hesitantly thrust into being a part of in other people's estimation. I can feel a little bit like a school teacher when I critique them, because you get a series of other people who might be a bit wounded if they feel it's about them, DMing me to explain themselves. But I do... the situation I'm going to talk about, I got a little bit pissy about the other day online. And I am pissy about it. I'm pissed off. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at fuckwits. But at the same time, you know, before I did any of this stuff, I was a vocational trainer. I was an adult trainer. There's a very deep assumption in my head, therefore, that I learned from that time, that when you're talking about complex or technical stuff, and even though this is soft sciences, culture wars kind of stuff a lot of the time, you know, or political stuff, there is still great complexity to talking about. There can be, anyway, if you're smart, to talking about the far right or fringe political movements. I do believe, because of those complexities, that there's always going to be many people in the audience or on your side who just won't get it, where you're coming from, unless you explain it 41 ways. You can articulate something 40 fucking ways and they won't get it. And I learned this in my years of adult training. It could be that 41st way that you, after hours of trying, that you write up on the board, that can have that penny drop moment in someone's head. So I guess, whether I be an eternal optimist or otherwise, I never quite give up on thinking, perhaps if I can approach this in the right way, then someone could get where they're going wrong. Let me stop framing it and just talk about the situation. So for the nth time, cookers attempted to invade the Aboriginal tent embassy space. You follow my content, you may well know I've done more than one lengthy treatment on issues surrounding some of those people. The second part of my 2-part series that I did, a 2-hour documentary really, I'm very proud of it, on sovereign citizens. I still think it's the single best resource on any media form that exists on Australian sovereign citizens. The second part I did, out of necessity, devote to Indigenous notions, legitimate ones, of sovereignty versus soft-sit sovereignty, and the ways that they clash even amongst Indigenous figures sometimes, such is the pervasive influence of cooked soft-sit style notions of sovereignty. I did a lengthy treatment on that, and I also did a lengthy treatment on Canberra versus Cookers, in which I spoke to Leah House, I spoke to Roxley Foley, I spoke to Gwenda Stanley, I spoke to people in and out and around the Aboriginal Tent Embassy in the Canberra area who've been dealing with repeat incursions on the embassy space by cookers. So if you follow my content a lot, you'll know that I have a lot to say on this, and as fraught as it can be to be a white fucking settler talking about this stuff, I do believe, for many reasons, that it's been important for me to approach these subjects. And I think, I haven't just done it on my own, wheeled into my own accord. I've done it as a comrade to many of the people in and around that space. I am, for one reason, is because I've believed that a lot of the people who've also looked at these movements with me, whether they be cooker watchers or otherwise, just didn't get what was going on there. They don't know about radical black activism. I'm not the fucking person to teach you about it, essentially, but I didn't just do these things on my own. I talked to some of those people who do know exactly what they're talking about on radical black activism. And also, it's important that you really understand what's going on at the embassy. So I've already done all that material. And through all that, whether you just like to look at cookers, you will be aware that cookers have repeatedly attempted to invade upon the Aboriginal Tent Embassy space. Why have they done that? Well, there's a few demagogue-type Indigenous soft-sit style figures, conspiracists, who have a real problem understanding or accepting when they're told they're not welcome somewhere. And have a little bit of a god complex. Some of the Shillingsworths, I suppose I'm referring to there. There are a lot of white wook type neo-spiritual cookers who stand in support of them, who harbour a very deep passion, as shared by many of my white brothers and sisters, to race shift. And I think that they see the Aboriginal Tent Embassy and supporting Indigenous soft-sit style figures on their way barrelling into those spaces as probably being a portal to a perfect race shift for them. And it's frustrating for the anti-lockdown and soft-sit movement, the embassy, because you tell me how many other spaces exist in Australia, in this continent, that have explicitly, for their politics, told them, no, you are not welcome. Try and think about how many other spaces there are apart from the embassy that have done that. One place that they can't... Now, I'm not saying places that tell them, no, sir, you can't come in because you haven't scanned your QR code. I'm not saying places that have gone, oh, no, sir, you have to have been double vaccinated in order to get in. No, I'm saying places that have sized the person up and their politics, attempting to come in, and have said, no, because of your actions and your words, you are not welcome. Because of the restrictions of the pandemic and the lack of actual boots-on-ground activism responding and countering to them, it was very sparse for obvious reasons. There have been very rare instances where anyone has done this with cookers, except for the Tent Embassy. And they cannot fucking handle it. And these are just some of the reasons why the cookers keep coming back to the Tent Embassy. And it was in that context that they did so again the other day. Forcing fucking local Ngambri and Ngunnawal custodians of the Tent Embassy and other people, other Indigenous people from many other nations who also have long supported it, to have to pour in to try and protect it. Because there wasn't anyone there at the time. Sometimes there's just not people in the space. Fuck off. People had to come in and protect the space from them for the nth fucking time. And as I have explained to you in some of my previous videos, some of these fucking custodians, some of these people have been threatened, and some have been, well, you know, were it not for the luck of them sleeping in one spot but as opposed to another, some of them could have been killed due to fires being set and the like. I'm telling you, it's been really dangerous and hard for these custodians to have to deal with these fucking pests time and again. So when I saw they'd come back for the fucking nth time the other day, I felt really bad. I contacted people like Leah House, Rochley Foley. I offered my assistance. I mean, you know, it's not my fight to fight, you might say, but they are my comrades. And if there's any way in which I could be useful, of course, you know, at least I know the pests in question. And I'm not a fucking useless white race shifter like half the people on that site are. I'm not going to center myself. I'd rather talk with people, see what assistance, whether it be visible or not, I could provide to help get rid of these cunts to the nth time. And you know, that's how it was. But you know, resistance was organised very quickly, and indeed they haven't managed to hold on to their central space in the embassy. But during that, one of the absolute legends, who you will recall from a previous video of mine, our chats, or you will just know because she is a legend in her own right, Leah House, was, you know, she was basically there telling these cunts to fuck off for the nth time. And a dog came up to her and she made a reflexive gesture because the dog jumped up on her, not angrily, whatever. She went like that, and her knee hit the dog lightly. And that's it. You know, she was just filming. She was telling them all to fuck off. The dog come up and jump up on her. And this is in the context, historically, of there being a lot of wild, untrained dogs that these fucking lunatics have brought out with them. She just went like that. She went back. That's it. This is a non-story. You can visibly see that from the video. But as we've seen from the pandemic, all throughout the pandemic, and, you know, the relationship between the anti-lockdown movement and their political opponents, their self-styled cooker-watcher type people, a decontextualised, cut-short video can do wonders as an item of, I don't know, what are you going to call it, propaganda or what have you. And so the cookers clipped this little bit of video and they were all like, oh, Leah heard a dog. Just didn't. It's fine. But I get why they would do that. You know, they want her to look like an arsehole, don't they? You know what I mean? They want her to look like an arsehole, and they want to get her in trouble. Because they want to be there. They want to be in that spot, and they want everyone who's a traditional custodian or a long-term person who's served and resided in that embassy space, they want all them to fuck off so they can be there and talk wildly off-kilter, soft-sit garbage, or neo-spiritual woke COVID denialist shit, whatever else is popping into their heads, and have themselves be welcome, because this is a movement that has a real problem with being told no. We've been given limits or boundaries or having to work with other people. They can't do it. They hate it. They hate being told no. So they all shared this video around. They're going, oh, look, I hurt the dog. Just didn't. It's fine. We all know that. Yeah, we all know that when we're not deliberately trying to point score by taking decontextualised footage. What I got mad about, I expect that. We all expect that shit to happen from these pests. They have an agenda. They lie through their fucking teeth about everything. You know what I mean? What I got frustrated about was that there was a few self-styled cooker watchers who joined in. You know, they don't like the anti-vaxxers, they don't like the COVID denialists, they like to laugh at people who are conspiracists, but they fucking joined in. And they were like, you know, they were posting the video. I'm looking at the video thinking, well, why are you doing that? You should know the history of what's going on here. You should know how frustrating and annoying this has been for these people to deal with these cunts again and again and again. You know, imagine someone keeps coming into your fucking home, claiming it as their own. Anything you do, they fucking upload a video of it, you know? They keep coming into your house again and again and again. These fucking assholes. Imagine if the anti-lockdown movement kept coming into your home all waving their fucking camera phones about and saying, "This is my house now. You're not even allowed to be here." That's one thing I expect them saying that. But when I saw these cooker watchers joining in, basically dancing to the tune played for them by these cunts, I got frustrated, you know. I told one of them off. They got rid of the post, but then they kept arguing with people online. Them and a couple other accounts, whatever. I'm not in the business of naming names. I don't give a shit. We're talking about the issues. I'm not fucking going into back and forths with cunts who have social media accounts. Fuck off. After a day, and I think this is just because they'd had people telling them off, to be honest with you, and they didn't like the feeling of being told off about stuff. Within a day, one of them's going, "Oh, I've reported it to the RSPCA." Another one of them's going, "Oh, you just don't like it when I say about this because I'm not allowed to criticise lefties." Well, I mean, if we're honest with each other, these cunts just got their back up because they didn't like being told that they couldn't do something. True, you know? I mean, we know Leah was just backing off, just trying to protect herself. It looked bad if you were looking for something bad in a couple of split seconds of video, you know? I chucked a bit of a sook on a little Twitter thread. Again, didn't name anyone. A couple of DMs with one or two people. But the thing is that when you don't have any political framework for why you're looking at conspiracists, you're just looking for split seconds of footage that make someone look bad, and you'll upload them, and then you'll go, "Whoa, can I tell the council?" This is a lot of this cooker watching formation is a bit like this. They go, they don't act, they're not left, right, nothing. They tell you that they're not anyway. They say they don't. They say they're in the middle, and they go, "Oh, there's someone that's knocked over a sign. Let's call up the cops and the council, and let's call up the school principal. Let's tell them their dad on them. Let's call up their dad and go, they knocked a sign over. That's illegal." Oh, we can have a bit of a dob every now and then. I get that. It's very useful in dealing with your political opponents. Sometimes you can tie your political opponents up in so much bullshit and admin and the like that it can reduce their effectiveness in the political space. When you don't have any political agenda, as people like to say, makes it sound nefarious. When you don't have a mission or a stated thing that you do believe in when you look at people like this, and all you do is you just go, "You're a cooker. You're a cooker, I'm calling the EPA." When you're like that, I suppose you wouldn't see the difference between Leah House trying to protect this space, one of the rare spaces that said no to these cookers that you apparently hate so much, remember? I imagine that you wouldn't see much difference between someone like that and cookers themselves. They're all just activists. I'm on the fence. It's all two wings of the same bird. I imagine that you wouldn't see the difference. But that's why I tried to help you by making very intensive, long-form documentaries, no less, on these subjects to let you know. And when I see people do the cooker watcher thing and start lagging with people who are my comrades and should be their comrades as well, and again, let's be clear about this, taking a decontextualised brief bit of footage in the same way that the anti-lockdown movement would do, taking that brief bit of footage and using it against someone in the same way that they use against someone who they apparently hate. And, and effectively serving cookers in that respect. If I see you doing that with my comrades and the people who should be your comrades, after everything I've done to try and educate you on why they should be your comrades, the Indigenous people of the Aboriginal Tent Embassy, and give you a basic one-on-one experience, education in radical black activism and the like. If I see all that, you make me want to do the only one thing that I can do, which is to shut the roller doors on you. Not threaten you, not get mad at you, not tell you you're a dickhead, not try for the nth time to educate you yet again. Just shut the roller doors on you. Because it looks to me, when you carry on like that you're not capable of just a bit of solidarity with people that you're supposed to be on the side of, you know? You can call it left and right. I think some of you cunts who don't know anything about politics at all, that's the best you could conceive of this as. Look, as Leah said in response to some of this shit, you know, Leah, and I think a lot of the other Indigenous people who operate in and around the embassy don't conceive of what they do as a left-right thing anyway. It's just sovereignty. I mean, you might see left figures like me want to support them, but I do that because I consider a lot of my activism, a lot of my anti-fascism to really importantly be fucking place-based. Remember where you are. You're in Australia doing what you do in terms of the activist stuff. You should really be a part of supporting or augmenting Indigenous rights sovereignty. And a big part of that, a big useful part of that could be supporting the fucking embassy when it gets attacked by fuckheads. But again, you know, more fool me. Here I am wading into an issue that, you know, is being styled as one about left and right, and why can't I point out when this person kicked a dog, when actually, as I said before, I think it was just a handful of people who got their back up that they were told not to talk shit about someone who should be their comrade, and they go like, why can't I? I think that's all it is. Like, I actually think it's just people who got precious about being told off. Don't like it. Don't like being told off. And they thought they'd peddle the same kind of little tricks that cookers do. Again, like, and I can say this. I expect that when you wheel into a space with political opponents, you better expect those political opponents are going to attempt to talk shit about you. You know? And make shit up too, you know? That's just part and parcel of it. We all expect a degree of that. And I see it all the time. I see it from these cooker watchers. I see it from the people who have these fixations with figures like Avi Yemeni. And it's really, to me, it's really undignified. I think a lot of our political opponents in this anti-lockdown movement scene are people who are so fucking dumb that you don't need to make up extra shit about them. They do all the dumb shit themselves. You don't need to propagandise with more dumb shit that they haven't done. And yet I see time and again that people do it. It is real. A lot of them are like lonely fucking teardrop fucking left boomer types. There was this one the other day. This got thousands of reacts when certain accounts shared it to Facebook. Like, it was so popular, and it's absolute fucking garbage. Let me read it out. Someone goes, sources close to Avi Yemeni said there has been a fallout between he, Rukshan, a propaganda media boss Ezra Levant in recent days, with the Independent reporter livid over his share of grifting funds, which has been wasted on Yemeni's wedding and honeymoon. This was shared on Nuffies of Australian Politics. Thousands of people, they are like, ha ha ha, yeah, big fallout. Rebel News is an international news outlet. You don't like it, I don't like it. I don't like Avi fucking Yemeni a lot more than you sitting on your fucking ass, mate. I promise you that. But they are, whether you like it or not, a proper international, hyper-partisan, far right, mind you, but nonetheless, international media outlet. Ezra Levant is probably fucking rolling in it, mate. He's a master of taking in untold amounts of money. The subscriber of his model is international now. Avi Yemeni is only the Australian chief correspondent of peddling it locally, you know. Raise subscriber revenue aggressively through subscriptions, but mostly as well through endless donation begs from frivolous fucking campaigns. Been doing it for years. I know about it better than most of you cunts. Avi is an employee. Rukshan is more recently an employee. Avi got married recently. And that's it. That's where the reality ends. Now, hang on. This cunt, and this really popular post, he said that there's a pot of grifting funds, and they're like squabbling over it. Rukshan, who's just signed up to work at this organisation, and the international boss of this news organisation. And Avi Yemeni going, no, I want that money. You're spending that on his wedding. Why do you have to make shit up about these cunts? They already do enough dumb shit. What's fucking wrong with you? Ask a question I know the answer to. You know, this cunt, this fucking boomer, whoever the fuck they are, I message him and I go, I indulged him. I knew it was rubbish. And I'll tell you why in a sec. It's just logical. I message him and I go, what's going on with this info? Where'd you hear that from? That Avi and Rukshan and Ezra have fallen out. And they go, sorry, Tom, I only interact in direct messaging with people who follow me. So there you go. You're fucking time-wasting fucking fantasists and desperate for a bit of clout. Do you know how I knew that was rubbish? Because Rebel News is an international media organisation and they rake in an untold amount of money, and fucking why would the new employee of the organisation go, you're paying for him to get married? This is so ridiculous and naive and childish. And most of you cunts fucking fall for it because you don't think. I don't know if you don't think or you just get excited because like, oh wow, I hate those guys, they're falling out. It's so stupid. So fucking dumb. And a lot of people just do it. I mean, this person just wanted more followers and they wanted people to react to their stuff, you know. I'm not sure they actually even give a shit about someone like Avi Yemeni and Rebel News and its influence. I mean, if you did, surely you wouldn't just make naive, childish garbage up. Surely it demonstrates you just care about people going, thumbs up on your research and your sources, you know. But for all that, this is just one recent example of a million. I see this shit all the time online. There's some huge accounts who make their thing out of going, sources say, and they just make stuff up. I'm like, your political opponent does enough bad shit as it is without you making shit up. 101 of being online and having political opponents, you know, people are going to make shit up about you, and when you show your ass, or even when a decontextualised brief bit of footage can lead to people pretending that you're going to show your ass, then your political opponents, whether they just do it, as they invariably are, just for their own fucking attention and reach's sake, or whether they're more genuinely, you know, out for your defeat, or a bit of both, as is often the case. You know, we all accept that that's going to happen to us with our political opponents. But I can understand that in its own way, even though I look down on it. I think it's dumb, time-wasting shit. I can understand that a lot more than the supposed cooker watchers doing it when you shouldn't even be their political opponent, because apparently they don't even have any politics. I mean, you kind of show your ass, don't you, you know? What are you just fucking doing? Why are you making yourself unwelcome in spaces with the people that you thought, you know, the only people, some of the few spaces out there in this country that have made these parasites explicitly unwelcome, you know, this hub for radical black activism in Australia. You should support it, and yet there you are, decontextualising and fucking rubbishing legends on that space over bits of footage that you know you're misinterpreting because you got your back up because some people told you no. Oh, how fucking hard is that for you to hear? No, you're wrong occasionally. You must be so fucking wounded about that. And all I can do is shut the roller doors on you. Because my solidarity and being my mate, my comrade, comes with a lot, because I do know a lot about these spaces. I'll be there when you've given up and gone back to whatever the fuck you were doing beforehand. I'll be there for the next wave of these things. Providing analysis, not just going, ha, they messed up. Ha, I'm on the fence. You messed up. That's a silly video. Ha, let's call the cops. I'll be there because I like talking about the political fringe and I happen to be fucking good at it. I'm an expert, dare I say. And my camaraderie comes with a lot because of all my snowboard experience. I know all the names. I know their histories. I was watching what these cunts were doing a few years ago. I saw their past iteration. I can tell you about it. I can help you out. Cunts should know about that by now. I'm not going to be there to threaten people when they fuck up in this respect. You know, I'm not going to get into these dumb back and forth wars. All I'll tell you is that when you fuck up like this and you fuck with my comrades, I'll shut the roller doors. And if solidarity means so little to you, well, you know, you bought and paid for it, mate. You bought and paid for your approach, because you won't have my solidarity going forward. Maybe that doesn't mean anything to you. Maybe it doesn't mean fucking anything. But if you were hoping for a long and happy history in this kind of a space, then it should. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys having a listen to me do this long form unscripted rant. Thank you. Some stuff, occasional house cleaning matters to get off the old chest. I hope it meant something to you as well. I think this is one of those ones that's only going to mean something to a few of us in here. But it's important I use these spaces like that as well. It'll be all the more important if we lose Twitter, which I think is just about to happen. So remember to go in and delete all your old DMs, anything sensitive that you have on there before Twitter truly falls to bits and you can't get in anymore. That's looking to be pretty quick. There's websites like or tools like Semiphemeral. Look that up online. That can help you to get rid of your sensitive stuff from Twitter. I've just finished using it now. The delete. Hang on, let me see how many Twitter messages it's gotten rid of. Let's have a look. 17,954. Jesus Christ, and counting. Fuck me dead. Shut up, guys. You can find me on all the other platforms that are not Twitter. Well, some of them anyway. And next week will be the latest Cook candidates video looking at the state election. Also, there'll be an article coming out tomorrow on Dan derangement syndrome. For better or worse, actually, whether you love him or hate him, it seems to work in both directions. Thanks so much for your support, everyone. Sorry if you feel wounded by this one. It's not the end of the world, mate. You'll fucking survive. Don't carry on about it for a year. Patreon.com/TomTaniki. Cheers. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you supporting my work.